All right. So I am so excited. Hey, how are you doing today?
I am so excited. Um, Thank you again for asking me to do this.
Yes,
I'm very excited. So,
I'm excited
and I
too.
hope you're doing well too.
I am. I'm doing well. And for those of you who don't know, this is my dear friend Sam, and she is just amazing, amazing person. First off, like truly amazing. So many things I'm learning about her each time we talk.
Yeah.
And how amazing she is, but just truly, truly an honor to be able to talk with you today and just have a powerful conversation about race, about sisterhood, about showing up. These are certain areas that I feel sometimes um, we used to veer away from sometimes because they were quote unquote uncomfortable. Um, or we didn't want to mess up the flow of friendships or anything like that, but it was always kind of there. But we never, not just saying we, but a lot of people never wanted to address these things. But here we are today, and we're going to talk about them. And so there were a few questions I wanted to ask you, but one thing I did want to start off with this was that um, I want to rewind for a minute because I want people to understand um, pretty much how this conversation came to be for me. And I can remember a couple of weeks ago um, when everything started happening with the George Floyd, and everything was just so heightened, and tension was high. I mean, it was high in the air. You can go out, go to the store, you can feel it. I mean, online, you can feel it coming through the screen. I mean, it was just very high. And so I never forget um, that you, Sam, you reached out and you said, "Hey, please let me know what I can do. Is there anything I can do? How can I help? How can I be a support?" And I think that in that moment, it was very important for me um, because I've spent a lot of time talking about sisterhood with many different people of cultures and backgrounds and things like that. But in that moment, it was very important for a friend of mine who wasn't Black um, to reach out to me to say, "How are you doing? How can I help? How can I be a support? What can I do to be better? What can I do?" And so it was very, very important um, because again, it showed that number one, you were aware, um, and number two, that um, and I believe you've always been aware. It hasn't. I don't believe that it's ever been like, oh, I'm just not paying attention. Um, I believe you've always been aware. But in that moment, it was very important. And so I kind of just want to get your take because how has this time um, of just from everything happening, even before George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, I mean, and many before, how has, but ultimately George Floyd and many others after him. But I think the George Floyd is what really sparked what is happening right now. And so, how has this time affected you?
Um, so I can't necessarily say that it affected me personally, for obvious reasons. And I think for me to even say how somebody being murdered and videotaping and not videotape, oh my god, 1994 called, it wants its references back, but having like a video recording of someone being murdered, right? He wasn't killed, he was murdered. So we can start by saying that people really need to, we tend to shy away from language that it takes away the severity
Mm.
of something. Black people, Black men, Black women, Black trans women,
Mhm.
whatever they choose to identify with, are murdered. So when we say killed, I think for me personally, it totally takes that away. I remember at one point, I used to live in East Oakland, right by Fruitvale BART. So when Oscar Grant was murdered, that was a big thing. And this had only happened 3 or 4 years after. So I think I've always had, not always, I knew that things were going on even as a kid, but I didn't have the vocabulary, or honestly, even I think at some points, even like the backbone to really understand or say like what was actually happening. So I haven't been, I've absolutely said racist things in the past that I probably shouldn't have said 10, 15 years ago when I was a kid. I'll be 27 next week. So it's not like I've had this huge, great awakening. So I want to preface that. I have family members that want to view this as like a political thing, which like people's lives mattering shouldn't necessarily be political. That they matter or they don't. It's not really political. So for me to even like think the way that I think, especially being and feel the way that I feel, because it's not necessarily that it's like a political issue. This is like a moral. This is like a heart issue. Right. Your heart. There's something wrong with your heart, right? If you think you are superior to somebody due to your lack of melanin, which actually protects people, you somehow think that that's right. So to me, it's not even so that it's like affected me. This is something that I have seen, never something that's been done to me. Do I get like assumed what my race is a lot of the time? Yeah. I'm in the acting world, they would say that I'm racially ambiguous. I could play probably somebody from Latin America. Maybe I could play somebody who was white, maybe whatever. But I've never actually, you can't look right at me and go, bam, and look for a box to put me in, which is part of, from what I see, that's what racism is. It's a snap judgment. It's putting somebody in this category and making them, well, not even making them feel inferior. I mean, when we really look at television and movies, before like Hollywood's even golden age, see, there's different things that I like history. I mess with history. So I think that's probably been a reason why I'm like, I don't know how to say how something has affected me when it hasn't really affected me is kind of a weird question. If anything, it hurts me because I genuinely love my people of color and my people of color, but I genuinely love like my friends who are people of color. And to see, hang on, your face went away. To like see, people that I care about being treated like animals for a better, and it's not just they were treated like animals 400 years ago. That's not the slaves were freed and then still got treated like crap, like from here on out.
Right.
It's
this
not
is not something that's like,
not going, oh, slavery happened 400 years ago, get over it. No. That's
right.
Not. And if you look outside of what, like, for lack of a better word, like public education teaches you, and I have an aunt and a cousin who are both school teachers, so I definitely respect like our education system. But that doesn't mean that what is being taught even in schools is true.
Right.
We're taught indoctrination and regurgitating information, and this is the way. And it's stuff that I've seen. Granted, yes, I graduated high school. I dropped out of college. Like, there's a lot of things that I've just picked up and learned myself, because I already could kind of see friction with what I knew in my heart versus kind of like what was being taught. Especially when you get into college, I moved to San Francisco when I was 18, which I really feel was like a huge turning point for me. I had friends from different cultures. And we would actually talk about a lot. I think even in high school was it like super emotionally and intellectually like deep philosophical conversations on like systematic, economic, and
Mm-hmm.
social
Mm-hmm.
oppression and injustice.
Mm-hmm.
No, but it'd be like, hey, I had a friend, Danielle, in the third grade,
Mm-hmm.
best friend in the third grade. She told me one day that we couldn't be friends anymore because she was black and I was white.
Wow.
Story. And I was like, well, what do you mean? And she's like, well, we just can't be friends. Like, we're very different.
Wow.
And I remember being kind of heartbroken. I'm a very emotional, sensitive person, and being like, damn, like,
Yeah.
it's not even something I think about, but it's so prevalent to her at the age of 8,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
this is where
Mm.
people listen, but they don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like if you're friends with like you alluded to some of your friends like feeling uncomfortable about certain conversations
Mm-hmm.
or having certain conversations, um, I don't know if someone would be my friend if they can't have a difficult conversation when like we're friends and we're supposed to be good, we're supposed to be tight. Maybe that's why I don't have a lot of friends. But we're supposed to be good, we're supposed to be tight, and
Yeah.
you can't have a conversation as I feel as important as like,
Right.
hey, I'm a black woman in America,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
If anything, that's my responsibility to bring it up because
Mm-hmm.
it's not my responsibility to sit around and be like, oh, I don't want to say that in front of her. Or I don't want to ask her this question.
Mm-hmm.
Um, not saying that people should, not saying that, every black person in America should stay up on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and text message and like send all their white friends things that they probably should have already been reading about if you're friends with somebody who is black. Just saying.
Right. Right. Right.
That stuff you should already be like knowing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Watch The Untold History of the United States, Howard Zinn. It's like one of the most incredible shows. Yes, it's made by somebody who is not black, but for the people that need apparently like someone who's not black to tell a black story for them to make it
Mm.
more believable, which is what happens a lot
Mm. Yeah.
because people seem to think that they're not actually telling the truth.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Wow.
no, we need a white guy to say it. Otherwise, it's not real. There's that too.
Yeah. There is.
This is stuff I just see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Someone told me, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot of experience.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like when I sent you that Instagram message, it wasn't, "Hey Vanessa, can you give me literature and what can I do to be a better human being?"
Right.
Because I need you to tell me how to treat you because I don't already view you as a human. That's
Right.
that's really what that, for me personally, that's what that says. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
tell me how to treat you.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
um, and black women are seen as these like demigods, which they are,
Mm.
but they're put so high up on um, just not being like these super women too, you know.
Mm.
And white women do it a lot. And I guess what? I'm not being racist because I'm a white woman and I can say this.
Right. Right.
White women especially see black women as being like superhuman. Like
Mm.
where a lot of the what people are now calling white free female fragility comes from because they think that black women can't be fragile.
Wow.
They
Wow.
absolutely can, right? I'm telling you,
Absolutely.
this is something I see. It's like, oh, you're this and this. I'm,
Uh-huh.
I'm not this and this, but this is the one thing I can be that you never could. And
Oh,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
That's how. But again,
Uh-huh.
I'm not saying it's true, but it's something that people when they hate so deeply like that,
Uh-huh.
or not even hate, because I almost feel like, especially again, like I'm born and raised in California, right? I wasn't raised in the deep South.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the guy who we used to go to this little Chinese food takeout place after school in high school.
Mm-hmm.
He would follow one of my black friends around the store, not follow me. When
Mm.
I tell you, when I and I'm just saying, I
Yeah.
was I was a devil kid. When I tell you, I used to walk out of that store every day with gum that I stole
Wow.
Because he was watching my black friend when I was, again, I'm not perfect. I was the one, stealing gum. I was 16,
Mm-hmm.
stealing gum. Because you know why? Because I knew I could do it.
Wow.
Right.
Right.
Meanwhile, my friend's in his pockets, guy has to give his backpack to the front. That's
Wow.
part of the reason why I did it. It used to make me so angry because I knew,
Right.
because I'm sorry, you can't be, I don't know, maybe it's because I grew up in like lower income neighborhoods. So
Mm-hmm.
I was just around, I feel like I was around like way more ethnicities just based on that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, unfortunately, that's just the way it was where I grew up.
Yeah.
So I think that blessed me in a lot of ways because had I grown up around people who looked like me or spoke the same language, who knows where I'd be.
Mm.
You know
Mm.
what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's people's refusal to do that because you've not you, but in general, there's some people that have never been around another race,
Mm-hmm.
never even tried to talk to another race,
Yeah.
um, are usually the ones that say you always make it about race
Mm-hmm.
when for the most part, if race wasn't so important, when you fill out paperwork, you would not be told to identify as a specific race. You wouldn't be told,
Right. Right. Exactly.
which again, I've always thought was stupid because I know for a fact that I'm not necessarily white like Caucasian, like I'm Portuguese and Irish that I know of.
Mm-hmm.
That I know of.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I know. And there's no box for Portuguese because society as a whole wants to put people in boxes,
Mm-hmm.
and then say you can't get out of it.
Yeah.
Uh, and I think I don't know. Uh, I guess I I am able to have, I don't even want to say compassion because they're your friends. You're supposed to have compassion for your friends.
Mm-hmm.
But when you take a saying like Black Lives Matter and people um, want to flip it, and in some ways, the way that mainstream media is covering things,
Mm-hmm.
um, I can see why people would be like, oh gosh, this is all I see. This is all I hear. Like, all lives matter. What about black on black crime? What about this?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then
Mm-hmm.
they want to get on Google and spout some statistics that are probably not true.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the other side does it too. I've been guilty of it. Right? Everything I'm talking about or say, I've done. Right?
Right. Right.
I'm not innocent at all.
Mm-hmm.
I up until probably 4 years ago,
Mm.
I lived in Oakland. If I saw a big, huge crowd of black men standing outside of a corner, I
Mm.
crossed the street.
Wow. Yeah.
And this was 4 years ago.
Right. Right.
Do I do it now? Do I do it now? No.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think that, like living with a black guy, living with women of, as a roommate, I lived with, I had a black roommate. I was the only person who was not black in a household of 5 women, all sharing a 1-bedroom apartment in the city.
Mm.
I think if I just feel like it's just led me. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's never affected. I don't feel like I've ever been affected by racism, but
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it up close so much
Mm-hmm.
that I couldn't deny it.
Right. 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 And
Yeah.
yeah. No, and I'm soaking in what you're saying because
Sorry,
it's very. Oh no, you're absolutely right on target. I mean, absolutely. And it's important for people to hear what you have to say because it's sometimes you don't get to have conversations like this all the time
yeah.
to where you can hear different sides. Because like you said, sometimes people are marginalizing people, just like with Black Lives Matter. Okay, everybody's marginalizing everybody in one circle. I'm a full supporter of Black Lives Matter. I'm out there marching for Black Lives Matter, you know, and so I feel like even with white women or white people, sometimes we can marginalize them and say, okay, well, one white person was bad, so they all finna be bad, you know, and that's not really the case, you know, and so there have maybe been somebody who looks just like me that was out there doing something crazy. That don't mean I'm out here doing something crazy, you know, but again, it all comes down to humanity.
Yes.
Like, that's what it comes down to. It's like, because the thing is that I don't care if that person was drinking, I don't care if that person was smoking, that person did not deserve to die.
Yep.
Did not deserve it. Didn't deserve to get, and I will quote Bishop T.D. Jakes, he did not deserve to get tried on the sidewalk.
Yep.
If something is going on, allow us to get to the court. Allow us to get tried properly. Don't try us on the sidewalk, the whole jury, everything, and it's done. You know? And so I feel like during this time, for me, I have had to really, I had to reevaluate a lot of things. A lot of things in my life, a lot of things that I thought mattered and they didn't really matter. And then certain things that I were kind of like, oh, okay. I'm like, oh no, that's definitely something that I need to focus more on, you know? And so things have kind of just been emotions, I would say. I was very grieved for a long time. And I had to really, number one, get with God and say, God, what is it that you need for me to do right now? Because I'm angry, I am grieved, I'm hurt, and I don't want to have a cold heart, because I don't want it to start to feel like that. So allow me to hear from you exactly what you need me to do in this time. And I'll never forget, it was a Sunday morning and I was laying on my couch, and I was laying there just looking at the ceiling, and I was just exhausted. Like, it had been a full week of just everything happening with George Floyd, and then already with Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery, and then this happens, and then now I'm just sitting there looking like, wow, really?
Yeah.
Like, I had a moment. I was just like, wow, really? Like, is this is where we still are? This is what's happening right now? And I'll never forget, I was laying there and I was watching church online, and I had texted my pastor Renee, and I said, thank you for the service. They had just did the service this morning. We're still doing the stay at home and everything. And Pastor Mike had did a word and things, and had shared some words on the situation, everything that's going on, and talked about unity. And I felt like it was like a healing balm over my soul and my spirit. But yeah, I still sat there and I was drained. And I remember texting her that, and literally right when I texted her, she called me. She didn't text me back. She called me, and she just said, I'm so happy to hear your voice. And I just started crying. I was just like, oh my gosh, like, I am, mind you, she's a white woman. And so, but the way that they're set up, they're so diverse, just like you, they're very diverse. And so it's very easy to talk to them about race and about all these things. And so I say all that to say is that I have had moments over these last couple of weeks speaking with women who don't look like me, but are close to me. And I think it's very important that those conversations are being had, because again, to be honest, I was tired of just talking to people that just look like me. It's like, because I felt like in a way, and I don't remember who said this, but I believe it was, it might have been Judah Smith, but he said, we, the system, the system isn't broken. It was never created for us. It was never created for the people of color. So it's like it was never built the right way to begin with.
It was designed you being 3/4 of a person. That's
Right.
literally
Right.
where you started. You weren't even a whole person.
Right. Exactly. You know.
It's just I laugh because it's insane to me.
Right. Right. And exactly. It's insane to me. You know. So I'm like, wow. Okay. And so here we are, 400 years later, and still dealing with this same things. And so when we talk about going back to it being a heart issue, absolutely. It's absolutely a heart issue. And I think that in order for us to truly move on, not just move on, but be better and do better and create real change this time, not just the plain change to where we just see something happen and then we do a couple people get fired and then they change something here and there. No, we need real change. And I believe it starts with, number one, people who are not minorities, understanding and being willing to make a change. And I'm not the one to say, oh, you did this, you did that. No, absolutely, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that in life we all have a responsibility to do something, right? And so I feel like right now this is a perfect opportunity of people who aren't minorities to step up and say, hey, you know what, this can't continue to happen. Because see, if I call you my sister, if I call you my brother, I can't just stand around while you're being murdered, or while you're being whatever is happening. I can't just stand around and think that that's okay. And so I think it takes having that conversation with our friends. And I had a hard conversation the other day with a friend of mine who is white, and certain things she understood and certain things she didn't. But I think and this is just my opinion, we're past the time of just holding someone's hand.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We're past that.
We didn't get to where we are now by holding hands.
Yeah.
Ever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely appreciate you I guess, of course you're going to understand, like, not all white people are bad because you've been on the other side of, like, all black people are criminals. Mm-hmm. So of course you're going to be ready to understand that, which I think is so beautiful and like poetic, but in like a real sad way, because the person who has been systematically oppressed can understand, oh, not all this group of people are bad.
Yeah.
But the person who's you've never been subjugated like to any of the things like that, which I think, among other things, is total, and I'm gonna say it, it's total black girl magic, because it literally, every person I know, and I moved to San Francisco when I was 18. I've lived in San Francisco, Oakland, worked in Berkeley. I was all over Sonoma County before I was in Fairfield, where I am now. And it's always people of color, maybe not necessarily black, but people of color who are always like, oh, well, just because this person doesn't mean they all do it. Because they know what it's like to be on the other side.
Right.
And I'm not saying that that there's some people of color that are super racist against black people, which again is like is something that wants to get blanketed too, but I have no actual melanin in my skin. So again, something that I've seen but haven't necessarily like experienced, right? Because I think what a lot of people don't want to all say outright is that Black Lives Matter is a predominantly, now there should be every color supporting Black Lives Matter, first of all. But the things that have happened to the Black community are specific to the Black community, right? Not to say that, you know, that doesn't necessarily take away from Japanese internment camps. That doesn't take away from, you know, women, like suffragists, right? Even though Black women back then like weren't even able to like really have any kind of voting rights until much later, which again is what people don't want to talk about. You know, someone like, you know, Shirley Chisholm. Like, why are we not like, why aren't people who aren't Black mentioning her? Like when I first discovered her, I was honestly, I was reading an article probably 2015. And it was like, hey, this is actually the first woman to run for the US Democratic nomination, and this was in the 70s, and she was a Black woman, and it's like, talk about pioneering. So, but why isn't she talked about more? Because what people don't want to acknowledge, because they, again, there's dirty words that you don't want to say, because there's a certain amount of seriousness to it. Our foundation as a United States was founded and is on the principle of white people being superior to other people. You don't want to talk about that, especially white people. And it's not necessarily all the time, because the white guilt thing kind of like, I don't know about you, I'm just being honest, but the whole white guilt thing and like, oh, I'm sorry, like is annoying, because if you really wanted to fix something, you wouldn't like just apologize for it and then try and forget about it because it doesn't. But oh, I'm sorry, you know, I know for a fact, like I'm Portuguese. My ancestors probably had slaves. Did I have slaves? No. That doesn't mean that I have to doesn't mean I have to necessarily apologize for something I didn't do, which is what a lot of people want to say. Oh, people want to bring it up like it's my fault. No, people keep bringing it up because it's still a problem. People wouldn't keep bringing it up if there wasn't a problem there. You know. It's a nasty, burned skin that every time it tries to heal, someone gets literally murdered in broad daylight while trying to run, and a piece of the scab comes off, and it starts to fester. Breonna Taylor was sleeping in her house. She was sleeping. They should just, they should just do this. Oh, they should just do that. It's like people don't know that the internet exists, and they can't just like look up video. Like there's always a video now. You know, that whole scab gets torn off, and then it festers, and it's a wound that has never been cleaned properly. It's a wound that people want to just don't even look at. Because it's not on their body. They can see it, but it's not on their body, so they don't want to address it, right? And then it festers and festers and festers until the whole damn arm needs to be like amputated.
Oh, that's good.
Like
that's real.
That's what this reminds me of. It's like a wound, a fester that never healed because we said it was there. So it just kept going.
That's true. That's absolutely true. You know, and the thing is that, you know, first of all, when we talk, let me take it back just a bit, because when we talk about, I think one of the biggest frustrations for me is when I hear the argument, well, if they had just complied, then everything would have been okay, or they wouldn't have been shot, or they wouldn't have been beat, or they wouldn't have been this. And I think that we are in such an age to where we're getting a lot of more video now, and we're seeing a lot of more things put on display. Mind you, these same things has been happening all these years, and they've been happening.
What people don't want to admit, and again, like history, the Black Panther Party was created to police the police. It was people arming themselves, being like, I'm tired of my son getting murdered. And what other people don't like to talk about, I'm tired of my Black daughter getting sexually assaulted all the time and the police not doing anything about it. Which, if you watch The Rape of Reese Taylor, it's on Hulu.
Okay.
It goes, the white friends.
Wow.
White friends, watch that. Watch that. Because that's a whole nother can of worms that people also don't want to talk about.
Right.
So it's how black women especially are very over sexualized and aren't allowed to own any kind of their own sexuality. With whatever that looks like to them. You know, I'm speaking from a society level. Sexuality for me is a little bit different because I was baptized in August, so I have different views on probably a little bit of everything, but I've been around a lot of people, so that's probably why I'm able to have this conversation. I really don't think that Black people have been made to not even like be human really, and when they are, or when they try to be, we still continually want to dehumanize that because it's all that's being done on the television screen. I watched Cops. I literally watched Cops every Saturday night with my family when it came on. A lot of Black families probably wouldn't have been watching Cops. That's their life. Their life is like being pulled over for no reason.
Yeah.
Being chased down for no reason, being told to calm down when there's five men on top of when there's 5 men on top of you.
Right.
And they actually do it in such a way where they have to criminalize whoever that person is being brutalized, right? Because if we criminalize them, then they're not being brutalized. That's another trick that gets thrown out. You gotta make them criminals because then it's okay to brutalize them. Not, hey, this person committed a crime, but they're still my brother in Christ. Even if you don't even believe in God, that is a person.
Right.
That is a person.
Right.
We shouldn't even have to bring God into it for someone to just see somebody as a person. You really shouldn't. Like, honestly, that goes back to the heart thing. You got to really heal your heart because imagine how low you have to think you are for your skin to be the only reason that you're pretty, that you're worthy, that you're intelligent. Let's not forget. Let's not forget that Black people have been told over and over again that they were stupid, even though you would be killed if you learned how to read.
Right.
Not like as a slave going to school.
Right.
The first gal to go to when there was desegregation, the first girl to go to a school that was predominantly white. This was 65 years ago. Anthony's grandmother is 76. And there's people with that kind of mentality. People act like this is an extinct thing.
Right.
I think that's a huge thing. It goes back to the wound that doesn't want to be addressed. They act like it's not happening. And when they are so used to, for lack of a better word, epigenetically, they're so used to Black people doing the work for them that when even they're like, oh wow, racism exists. Let me run to the first Black person I know and have them educate me.
Right.
That's, unfortunately, people don't want to hear this.
Yeah.
That is a slave master mentality.
Wow.
Because you don't want, you are literally, your genes, epigenetics, your genes have been expressed so much of like not doing any hard work that
Wow.
you are still, you're still going over and being like, hey, you know what? And this, if this is too derogatory, hey, you know what? I don't want to pick that cotton, so you go pick that cotton for me.
Right.
I don't want to learn, so I want you to do all the heavy lifting.
Wow. Right. Yeah.
That's the thing that's really been bugging me about this whole, hey, you know, and power. I cannot power to the people of color that actually are like, hey, go read this book.
Right.
Not that they, I don't know. If I was Black, I'd be like, you guys all know, like, you guys know this. Like,
Right.
please go read, like go read a book that you didn't have, that you weren't told you had to read in elementary school, college, and high school. And I promise it's gonna be the exact opposite narrative of what you were told.
And I mean, that's true. I think and that goes back to me with the holding the hand. It's like we're past that. It's like, you know, I'm always available to talk and to talk and conversate on the issues. But when it comes to everyday education, now I'm a teacher. I do these things, so I automatically, you know, just say things, right? But I feel like when it comes to educating, just as I have to go educate myself on things in different situations, I feel like you should be able to go and do the same and say, you know what, how can I better understand my Black friend? And even though we can have a conversation, we can talk about how do I feel, all those things. I'm not disregarding any of those things because they're very important. But at the same time, when it comes to day-to-day things, like I feel like that has to be something to say, you know what, I want to educate myself more on this matter. And I want to be better and do better. Just as if you're in a class and you're wanting to, you know, understand your major better, you know, what are you going to do? You're going to study, right? And you're going to continue to get better in it. And so I feel like that's where we're at with that. And also too, when you talked about just Black women, now this has been an area for me that I have really, it was very hurtful just to continue to see the brutalization of Black women and how that makes me feel, how that makes my sisters feel, how that just makes a Black woman feel, because at the end of the day, we are women. And the fact that through certain people's eyes, a white woman is more, she is more, she's able to be protected more, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely.
She's able to be protected more because you see so many videos of Black women being brutalized and spoken to just wrong and not getting any justice. And then you see a video of someone who is not a Black woman, and the whole cavalry comes out for her. But yeah, where's the cavalry for us? You know?
Because you've always been the cavalry.
Right, right.
People, if someone is
Yeah.
someone else being the cavalry, they're not gonna know how to. I'm not making an excuse, but I'm like huge reason. Black women have been, I'll just say, have been used as soldiers and warriors and writers and like literally everything
Yeah.
for so long. it goes back also to like the Superman complex. Oh, she's a strong, independent Black woman. She can do it.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. And that's kind of how it is. It's like, and so when you think about, um, it's kind of like, because as a Black woman, it wasn't an option to be strong. You had no choice.
Yep.
You have no choice but to be strong, because the things that you face on the day-to-day basis, the things that you have to endure are just, and I'm not taking away from other people's experiences, but the realization of it is that,
Not because I already know that you're not. You don't have
right,
to. I know you're not.
right. But the realization of it is that the Black woman has had to be that, right? And so, again, we don't get looked at as um the soft petite one. We get looked at, oh, she's the angry Black woman if she stands up for herself. Or rather, the white woman, when she stands up for herself, oh, she's an advocate, she's doing what she's supposed to do. But as soon as we open up our mouths, well, she's angry about something, or she's this and that. And so I think I'm past that. And all to say is that I don't care if you think I'm angry. I don't care if you think that um, that's who I am, because I know that's not who I am. And I know that um, people that I surround myself with, that's not who they are. They are strong, powerful Black women, um, who definitely know how to be soft, definitely know how to be caring and compassionate and all those things. And so, but the realization of it was that we also had to learn how to balance the two. And at times we didn't get the option to balance them. We didn't get the option. And so, again, it's the that area of the Black woman and her not being um, protected in that way. It has really played with me over the years. But now that, more so now, um, I've learned to embrace again who I am and my strength, because I'm proud to be a strong Black woman. I'm proud to be who I am. I'm proud to be compassionate. I'm proud to be loving and caring, and also strong and powerful at the same time. I'm proud to be all of those things. And so um, it just a side note, but if you are a Black woman watching this and you feel like you have to hide your strength, or you have to water down who you are just to fit in with society, then that's not your corner. That's not your area. And so, or it may just be that you're the light in that place and that you just need to keep being who you are even stronger. And so wherever you may be, don't let anybody make you feel like your strength is a weakness, because for so long it's been seen that way, but it's not. It's your superpower. And so, Sam, what would you say that people who don't look like me, white people, what do you say they need to do moving forward? What is your view on that?
What don't they do moving forward? Okay, so
Yeah, that too. What don't they need to do?
sorry, I'm just like, I'm in that like white people, please don't, I'm in that like,
Right.
stop making me look bad. Just stop
Right.
making me look bad. No, I'm just kidding. Because so I want to start off by saying that no, I don't think all white people are bad. I'm not ashamed of like not being a Black person,
Right.
because some people may take it that way, right? One is figure out where you are choosing to get your news from,
Mm-hmm.
where you're choosing to do your research. Google and Wikipedia, if you cannot use them on a college paper, they're probably not great resources for research, right?
Right.
Quoting like statistics that are kind of like inflated, like I've done that, right? I think right now it is very important, and there's been hard conversations that I've tried to have with family members that didn't go so well. Hence, tried to have certain conversations with family members. Because again, I have family that I am the only person, minus my older sister, who moved out of where they were born. And I'm not saying that as like that's a bad thing. Like, my older brother is super successful. He's very hardworking. He's a father to 5 children. You know, my aunt is busting her butt every day, like being a housekeeper. You know, my other aunt has literally lost 2 husbands from cancer, has gone through chemo herself. My cousin is I'm just finding out she's super autistic. She's posting all these photos of Freddie Mercury on her Instagram, and I love it. And she's a teacher. You know, my uncles that live in Sacramento work very hard, have like a beautiful home, and work super hard. You know, like my other aunt like had a really great life and raised like 4 beautiful daughters, and has worked very hard for everything that she has earned, and she's an incredibly humble person. Do each and every one of those family members have a different view about what's going on? Yes. Do some of them all have the same opinion? Yes. Do they choose to like draw a line in the sand sometimes? Absolutely. Just like I would. Just like if someone said the N-word in front of me and they were my friend, even though like if you were my like real friend, you probably wouldn't say that in front of me, because you know what would happen after.
Right.
And we wouldn't be friends after that, right? Based on, again, my experience and having those different family members, you have to at least let them know where you stand.
Yeah.
That way they know.
Right.
That doesn't mean like, you know, I don't think I have anybody that is on any of my social platforms that I don't necessarily know personally. But let them know where you stand. But also, and here's the kicker, because this is what makes people really angry. If someone has an opposite opinion, and I say opinion like this because, again, Black Lives Mattering shouldn't be an opinion. It should never be an opinion.
Right.
Ever. And the fact that people want to call it political and say it's an opinion, I'm just going to pray for you.
Right.
I'm going to pray. I sincerely hope that you see, you know, but again, that's media. That's why it's important to see where you get your news.
Right. Absolutely.
You know? Am I a CNN watcher? No. Does that mean I watch Fox News? Absolutely not. You know, things like The Young Turks, things like Forbidden Knowledge TV. Like those are also great resources where they're not huge corporations that don't want to say the wrong thing because they don't want a $1 billion lawsuit. They're not people who come into work and have an email of what they can and can't talk about. There are a lot of them, they're independent, so they fund themselves, so they don't depend on any kind of anything else along the corporate agenda, which I do believe is to divide and separate, right? Not to say that we shouldn't recognize and try and say that we're colorblind to someone else's differences, but it's that they've made us. They've made us think that someone who doesn't look like us doesn't experience the same things we do. You know?
Yeah.
Your parents argue and fight, or like, wow, you play the violin and you know, do archery and you like to watch birds too, but you're Black.
Right.
Yeah, what would make you think that a Black dude doesn't want to take pictures of birds? He's a bird enthusiast.
Yeah. And see, and you're right.
It's not reserved for an old white guy. See,
right.
That's what the dangerous thing about boxes.
Yeah.
Right?
That's true.
Once they're in this box, this is the box, and this is where they stay.
Wow.
And I don't have to do any heavy lifting because I've already put you in that box.
Wow. That's so good. That's so good.
About boxes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Why is it,
But that's true though. That's true though about those boxes, because it's like,
and I know it's happened
yeah.
to you.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. All the time.
You do that? Yeah, why wouldn't I? They don't want to answer the question. Because they know I'm sorry, but they know what the hell the answer is.
Right.
They know what would come out of their mouth. That's why they don't say anything after. Because they don't want to admit it to themselves.
Right.
Has there been, and again, everything I'm talking about, I have absolutely been guilty of.
Mm-hmm.
Not thinking that Black people didn't like watching birds. I've never been on that level. That's a special kind of level. And it is. It's a special kind of level.
Yeah.
They don't think that Black people like to watch birds.
Mm.
Or are surprised.
Right. Right.
Again, because it's a box.
Yeah. And that's sad.
People do this, Indian people do this, Chinese people do this. White people do this, and that. And this person can't go into Dick's box because if this person goes into this box, then I won't fit in it.
Wow. That is so good. That's so good, because literally, like, I kid you not, like growing up, like I remember for a time I had to try to fit into a box, right? Until it just became too small. And then finally I was like, you know what? I gotta really be myself. Yeah, I like rock music. Yeah, I like country music. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, there was things that growing up that people just assumed that you liked. Yeah. And it was like, or didn't like. And I'm like, you know what? If I haven't experienced it, well, let me experience it. Like, I'm an adrenaline junkie. I like to jump off of cliffs and skydive. And there's this stigma that Black people don't swim, or Black people don't do heights and all these things. And it's like, really? Well, I'm Black and I love those things, so it's like, what is that? What really is that? And so, over the years, yeah, I've grown comfortable in my skin, and I really don't care what other people think anymore when it comes to those things. But growing up, yeah, I had to deal with that, trying to, because when you're in high school, you have to fit into a certain group. You got to be, yeah, and it's like, which one you go. And even back then, I was still very diverse, because see, the way I grew up, I didn't grow up, with a family saying, oh, you just need to stick to your own kind. No, my family is completely mixed. Like, I have cousins who are mixed. I mean, we just, diversity, and so it was never, growing up, it was never something for me. Here's the deal. My parents never told me I couldn't bring a white man home. Let's put it that way. They never told me that, because that's not who they are, and that's not who I am. We love all people. We love everybody. We understand that there are differences. We understand that there are different cultures, all those things, but we embrace them. Yeah. And I think that's more so of what people need to understand in this day and age, is that, and my mom said something so funny. She said, well, it's funny how certain racist people can be racist, but yet they want to go eat Mexican food, or yet they want to be eating soul food, or they want to eat Italian food, but want to be racist towards the group that created it. And it's like, how can you love the things that I do or my culture, but not love me? Yeah. It just doesn't make sense, So
I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm glad you brought that up too.
Yeah.
And if you really don't think that Black Lives Matter, stop listening to Black music.
Absolutely.
If it's really an issue, white people, if it is an issue, if you really think that saying Black Lives Matter means that yours doesn't, please stop bumping gangster rap, stop bumping Eazy-E or Tupac or Ice Cube or Biggie or all the things that white women like to play to make themselves feel tougher. Talking to myself, to make them feel tougher and better and being a G before they walk out of the door, you know, or gospel music. Don't listen to Black gospel music, because guess what? If you don't think that all of God's children are God's children, don't listen to Black gospel music.
Right, and that's just the thing about it is that it all goes back to the heart issue. It's like, at the end of the day, the realization of it is you can't be racist and love God at the same time. Those two don't go together, they don't mix. And so, you know, you either finna be racist or you finna love Jesus. Either one, you can't. I mean, Jesus cannot live in your heart, and you right have a racist heart. That's just it, you know?
Racist or you finna love Jesus. That is exactly, that's the takeaway.
That's all I can say about it. You know, it's kind of just plain and simple there. There's no in between. There's no true argument about it, because God created us all.
It's pretty black and white.
Yeah, and I mean, we can go back to the word and we can talk about it and we can pinpoint it all. But at the end of the day, the realization of this is that you just can't.